Newslink, let's bring you this story now. In a case of David versus Goliath, a man is going up against the ride-hailing service Uber. Hanif Kruger was denied transportation because he had a guide dog. He was left in a dangerous area and still charged for the ride. He's now calling on Uber to provide equal access and fair treatment for people with disabilities. So to discuss this even further, we are joined by Hanif Kruger, who also works at the South African National Council for the Blind. Hanif, thank you so much for your time and good morning to you. I mean, what exactly happened? I can't imagine, being in this sort of situation where it seems there was no help, in my understanding, to ensure that you got to your destination safely, or at least there was some sort of resolution to this problem.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. Good morning to the listeners as well. Yes, so simply I ordered an Uber vehicle, and there is something called an Uber PIN to make sure that it is the correct driver that you're having. And I stepped outside, I greeted the gentleman, and he then asked me for my Uber PIN. I provided that to him, and then after he entered the PIN and it was validated, and it said that, my ride is starting, he then said that, oh, he's not going to take this dog because it's a threat to his life. And then he drove off slowly, so I followed him, begging him to just release the trip. I don't want to make a fuss, I just need to get to my destination. And he refused to release the trip, which will then have enabled me to get another trip. Just to leave it at that. It was 5:42 in the morning, and I just needed to get to my destination. And we then entered into sort of a verbal altercation, where I told him that this is not fair treatment. And he then got on the phone with somebody who reiterated that, yes, dogs are, they are filthy, and he's in the right to not have this dog with him. So I walked, still carried on following him. And then after 5 minutes, the trip was then cancelled after he charged me the 25 rand, which is not the issue. The issue is that mentality and that attitude. I then immediately, when I got to my destination, I was really upset, because I'm not only thinking from the perspective of myself, I'm thinking of people who are newly blinded, people who are vulnerable, elderly, visually impaired and blind people. And I posted something on Facebook. I then received a ticket from Uber, letting me know that if I do not stop this behavior, which also referred to the altercation with the gentleman, then they will suspend my account. Needless to say that quite, upsetted me, because, how I got to my destination, I did manage to, on the third try, get somebody who was willing to take me with my dog, and he was from the same religious background, and he had no issue. He understood my situation. But I'm tired of this, because we have actually engaged with Uber before in person.
Right.
I was at their offices in 2016 and 17, representing our concerns. And then I took a deep breath, and I think I made 10 very fair points, which basically encompasses our demands as people with disabilities. And I think I can talk for globally from this perspective.
And if I can just interrupt you, then apologies for interrupting you there, Hanif, because, you've started this petition online. 5,796 people have already signed in support, right? And I think that's the point of this conversation. As you mentioned, it's not necessarily just about the money, even though that's equally upsetting. Even for myself, if I feel that I've been charged unfairly by an e-hailing service, I would demand my money back. But you're also saying that the bigger issue here is the principle, where the blind community needs to be considered, by these e-hailing services. And it's really disappointing to hear that that's the feedback you got from Uber, more of a suspension, a threat to a suspension of your account. How can this problem, do you think, be dealt with? What are you tabling here? When you interacted with Uber, what did you put on the table in terms of what they can consider as an organization for the blind community?
What I have, and I just want to say this also for perspective, the ticket was logged, and then one of the media organizations picked it up, and there was an interview, and instead of coming to the table and trying to understand what I have been through, I have been told, no, you need to use a special product for disabled people, which is obviously called Uber Assist. And I have explained many times before, and also in the interview with the journalist, that the Uber Assist feature is not always available, number one. Number two, if it's available, it is it takes a while for those people to arrive. And I think that the third and most important point is that why should we have a separate product for us? Because what if I want to use Uber Black? What if I want to be, treat myself and drive in luxury? Why should I be limited to just Uber Assist? And it's almost as if the attitude of Uber was to blame me. And every time we engage with them, then they want to know, oh, what happened? We don't know who you are. We don't know your ticket. So there's for me, the first thing that they need to do is to really come to the table, understand what we are going through, understand that we are clients. We do not ask for special treatment. We ask for reasonable accommodation. We ask for basically, I don't know if you've seen the petition, but if you look at the 10 points, I think, I've really sat down and thought through them carefully. And I think if they adhere to that, to engage with us in a respectful manner and not just in a public relations, let's get rid of you kind of way.
Right.
I found that very disrespectful, especially when I get a call from them and I call them back and the number does not exist. That shows a total disrespect and disregard for you as a client. I hate numbers. I hate organizations, companies who call me from numbers that are ghost numbers. I think that is absolutely disrespectful. If you want to talk to me, give me the opportunity to call you as well.
No, I'm definitely looking at the 10 points in front of me. The last one being an important one, I think, establishing partnerships with local organizations, supporting people with disabilities to gather feedback and insights, right? As opposed to thinking that you may have the right solutions for me. How about you engage with me, engage with, organizations that do represent me and garner that feedback and insight. But also, I wanted to ask you before I let you go, Hanif, any feedback from Uber around the safety element? I know that with e-hailing services, oftentimes people complain about the safety feature, whether they do feel safe around either the driver, the car, the mode of vehicle and transportation that's been used. You say that you had been left at approximately 5 a.m. or just after 5 alone, when the car literally drove off. Any feedback from Uber in terms of, giving you that experience where you were left unattended to at that time of the morning?
Well, I must be honest, I was actually quite intimidated by the verbal altercation of the gentleman and the fact that he started driving off. That kind of scared me. And I was robbed there last year at exactly, it was not far from my home, but it was in the street. And, I cannot walk around with my phone for everybody to see. I cannot use and call emergency services or activate the emergency service in the same way that you can. I have to now pick my phone up, bring it to my ear, listen to what I'm doing. And when you're panicking, you shiver. You basically cannot focus. And their way, the only security feature that I can use of Uber is the PIN code. So I ask you with tears in my eyes, why did he accept my PIN code if he did not like dogs? I was willing to let it go and let it slide like I did so many times and like so many other disabled people or people with disabilities has done in the past. So I really think this is not just about blind people. This is just about respecting your clients, providing reasonable accommodation. And, if you look at my dog, is she really so dangerous? Brooke, come here. Let's look at her. Come here, girl. Come. Yes, see, there she is. So this is all we want is just that accommodation. And I also think that it's important to look at it from a legal perspective as well. The Consumer Protection Act talks about this, digital discrimination. I really think that Uber needs to take all 10 points that I've made serious, engage with me and with the organizations in a very honest and open manner, so that we can try and resolve this problem, not only for South Africa, but I think, worldwide, so that they can live up to their non-discrimination policy and not just have it in writing.
Well, hopefully we'll get a response even from Uber as well regarding this matter. But Hanif Kruger, thank you so much for talking to us about this, placing this issue to the fore. It will definitely, create more conversation. Just by the 5,000 plus co-signs on the petition by Hanif Kruger, there definitely needs to be a conversation in terms of this matter. Thanks to Hanif of the South African National Blind, or rather National Council for the Blind, joining us this morning with regards to not only his experience as a blind South African with e-hailing service, Uber, but also speaking on behalf of the blind community as well.